Okay, so thank you so much for participating. My name's Jessie Herbert. I work with the University of Montana and a program called We Are Montana in the Classroom. I'm really excited that you are all here today. We've got an exciting session on journalism, and I want to introduce Jason Begay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, enjoy your session.
Hey everybody, so my name is Jason Begay, and I'm here with Tailyr Irvine, who's a student in the journalism program. A little bit of background. Well, my name's Jason Begay, right? Is it? You guys know what tribe I'm from?
You can unmute.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up if you can tell what tribe I'm from based on my name. Yeah, I'm Navajo. Yeah, totally. Navajo. Grew up in the Navajo Reservation. I came to school here in Missoula to study journalism back in 2000. Graduated in 2002, and I worked as a news reporter all over the country for several papers. The New York Times, Oregonian, the Oakland Tribune, in Duluth, Minnesota. Then I went home to work for the Navajo Times for a few years. And then I came back here to teach in 2010, and I've been here ever since. And the class, the big class I teach is a Native News Honors Project, which we're going to talk about a lot today. But I wanted to give Tailyr a chance to introduce herself.
Okay, so I'm Tailyr Irvine. I'm from the Flathead Reservation. I'm Salish and Kootenai. I started going to school about 3 years ago. I haven't worked as many papers as Jason. The tribal paper from where I'm from, the Shakusta, and this summer I'll be interning at the Billings Gazette.
Oh, awesome! I didn't know that.
Yeah, just got
great news. All right, so yeah, we're here to talk about the Native News Project, which you can see behind me. It's one of our stories that we did last year. We're doing it again this year, and Taylor's in that class. She can talk a bit about what she's working on. But before we do that, I kind of want to get just like a brief conversation about journalism and how it fits in with Native American communities. So, just to raise your hands, how many of you guys like pay attention to news or read news regularly? Blackfeet, of course. Awesome. Well, that's a lot more than I usually get when I talk to high school, because that's awesome. So I guess what do you guys think about like when you think about how what you read in news and what you see on TV news? How do you think the news thinks Native American people look like? Like what kind of stories do you usually see when news covers Native American people?
You can go ahead and unmute your mics. Browning, I see you've got a thought. Yeah, go ahead.
There's kind of a lot of poverty porn in the media when it comes to Native Americans.
Is that Kishana?
It is Kishana.
Hey, Kishana, yeah, totally. So if you guys didn't hear Kishana from Blackfeet, yeah, poverty porn is huge. With we talk about that, we talk about how news outlets cover like the really tragic stuff about Native Americans. They usually write about like. Well, I mean, what do you guys think when we say that? Like, what do you guys see what some specific stories you've seen in terms of how news outlets cover Native American people? Like, do you guys have any ideas?
The homelessness article that was recently on the Blackfeet Reservation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so about people being poor, people being homeless. That's good. What other kinds of stories do you see about Native Americans?
Jamie, would your class like to answer?
No ideas?
The Redskins controversy.
The what controversy?
The Redskins controversy.
Redskins controversy. That's a big one, right? That's a big political issue. All right, that's good. What else do you guys see? You guys are really shy.
What are you guys talking about?
The mic is now on. They're asking how natives are represented in the news.
Drugs, I hear.
Drugs definitely has a big story.
The bias.
What's that? Violence? Totally right. Drugs, violence,
They're
homelessness.
biased against SKC.
What's that?
SKC.
They're biased against SKC. Yeah.
Violence against
SKT. I mean, not SKT. CSKT.
All right. Yeah. So what Keisha's talking about when we say poverty porn is that they really focus on all the tragic stuff like the drugs, drinking is a big one, right? Diabetes, people who are dying. And then if it's not like the poverty porn, they cover a lot of like Native Americans protesting, right? So it's kind of like this whole like us against them type of thing. And that's pretty much like the major categories that news outlets cover Native Americans in, right? And so it's not really a realistic picture that they give, right? It's not like people just living their lives. Basically, if you were to just read the news, then your idea of what Native Americans are like or what it's like to grow up on a reservation would be really dire and really a horrible place to be, right? I mean, that's kind of how they picture it. And that's what we don't want to do. I mean, what we try to do in journalism is to cover a realistic and actual picture and to make it as accurate as possible to real life. And that's what the Native News Project does. And we're the only program in the country that does what we do, which is we send students out to all the reservations in Montana. There are 7 reservations, 12 tribes altogether, but 7 reservations. And we send them out to the reservations during spring break. So they spend like 3 or 4 days there, sometimes more, to report and talk to people, take videos, take pictures, record them with audio, and then come back, and then we spend like a whole month putting these stories together to make sure that everything is as accurate as we can make it. Takes a lot of time. And Tailyr just went out during spring break 2 weeks ago to the Northern Cheyenne Reservation to cover a story, and now she's hard at work putting together a video and a bunch of photographs that are going to go with the story. So I'd ask Tailyr to talk a bit about her story. What's it about and how was her trip?
Okay, so I'm doing a story on the councilman named Sheldon King. He is representing the Busby district.
Let's see how. Show of hands. Has anybody heard of him before?
Anybody heard of Sheldon King? Yeah. So he does a lot of work with the youth, and he started a baseball team there. That's pretty nifty. They didn't have baseball, they have basketball, and you guys know that that's a red sport, basketball, and so trying to do a different story. So baseball, and also he just sits on the school board of the school that's right across the street from him, but he doesn't send his kids there. He sends his kids 40 miles away to St. Labray instead of going to Busby. So we're just doing a story on him and what it's like to be on the school that you don't send your kids to. Work there. His wife works there, but they just don't send their kids there. So we're trying to see why and figure that out.
So how long were you on the reservation when you went for your trip?
So we've gone twice so far. The first time we went, we were there for, I think, 2 days. And then the last time we went, we were there for 4 days, right? 4 days and 3 nights, or is that?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, we were there for like 4 days. Yeah, we got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and went to his house and creeped on him and his kids and took photos of them waking up. It's pretty exciting stuff. That's about it. And then I'm going to go back on Sunday because I didn't get enough photos for the video I'm doing.
I want to pause and see if anybody has any questions, especially for Tailyr, about kind of the component of going into somebody's house and taking pictures or finding a story or any other thing that you might want to ask her. So let's start with the Missoula crew. We haven't heard from you today.
Okay, you are unmuted.
Is it really weird taking pictures of like people like home alone? Hold on. If you think my question.
Take a break, let me ask a question. Is it hard to catch people in a comfortable mood where they're not nervous around the camera while
Yeah, and it's really hard, especially because we're only there for such a short period of time. That I only got to go to their house one time before photographing the kids. I didn't even get to meet them, so I just kind of woke up. They woke up and I was there, and they weren't very comfortable. The little boy actually, I rode the bus with them as well to school, and the little boy ran from the car to the bus, so I couldn't photograph him, and then he jumped on the bus, went all the way to the back, and ducked down, so I couldn't get any pictures of him. So, yeah, I asked him, I was like, are you hiding from me? Because we got comfortable about midnight that night. He was pretty comfortable showing me his stuff, and it was a little late by then, but he's like, oh yeah, I was hiding from you because I thought it was weird. Like, yeah, it's a little creepy, but yeah, that's a really tough part, especially because we're just kind of parachuting in for 4 days and then leaving again, so it's hard to make those connections.
Did you rethink your question?
No, I couldn't figure out how to piece my question together. So
Okay, hold up for later. Anybody else? Anybody else have a question? Okay.
I see Browning. Go ahead, Browning.
You're muted.
Oh, yep, Browning, you're muted.
Brownie.
Are you there? Can we hear? Kathleen, are you muting them?
I am not muting them.
Okay, so Browning, do you see your if you see the microphone, if you want to make sure that the green light is on? Ah! All right, we'll come right back to you. Let's go down to Pablo. Pablo, do you guys have any questions? Go ahead.
They're unmuted.
No, now we're good.
We're good.
Did Bush do 9/11?
Dude, it's not relevant. Say you're kidding. You know that you're kidding.
Oh, I'm kidding.
Do you have anything that's relevant? Brandon, do you have anything that's relevant?
How long is your guys' program?
The entire journalism program?
Or like the class.
Yeah.
Or like the class.
Both of them.
Well, the journalism program is it takes 4 years usually, but you can probably do it in 3. We have some prereqs that take 2 years, but good if you're really good, you can do them all in 1 year. And then we have after that you're in the professional program, and you get to pick what classes you want to take. So there's credit requirements, and that could be done in 2 years. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it in 1. So it's at least 3 years.
It's taking me 5. So.
At least, yeah. So the Native News program is 1 semester, and we offer that every year. So we offer it every spring because it's easier to travel out to the reservations during spring break. So it's like a 4-month class, and it's the only class in our program where students get to spend 4 months on one story. So it's a pretty unique experience.
All right.
Did we get Blackfeet up yet?
So Browning, if we still can't unmute you, is Amy in the room with you? Amy, if you want to use the chat function, Kathleen can read that, and then we can ask that way. I'm not sure why your sound's not working. We'll problem solve that in between the next ones.
Yeah, Allie, they said they're unmuted, and I've got them unmuted, so I don't know what's going on.
Yep.
So just use the chat.
Yep, just use the chat function. But come back. All right, we'll go on, and then we'll pause once that question comes through from Browning.
Okay. Yeah, so back to Native News, right? Which is a class that we teach. We've been doing this class for 25 years. This is our 25th year, which is a big deal for us. And like I said, we're the only program in the country that has a program like this. Like, nobody spends the money that we spend. It's like $10,000 a year, and the journalism school pays for that. We publish it every May, and it gets inserted in this like magazine type thing. and they put it inside the Missoulian and then the Billings Gazette. So we had like 70,000 readers that we reached just that way. And then we also have this website. So every reservation gets a story, and every story has the written component, which is like about a 3,000 word story plus photographs. And on the website, every story also has a video. And the videos, we try to do like a different angle on the bigger story, so it's not the exact same thing, but also kind of complements the story. How many of you guys have ever seen the Native News publication in your newspaper? Anybody? A few of you? Awesome, that's great. How many of you guys have been to the website? Kishana, of course. Awesome. All right. So what I want to do, I want to show you guys a video that we did last year of one of our more popular stories that we've had since I've taught this class. So this story came from the Blackfeet Reservation, and so how this works is every year we pick a theme for the project. So last year, like this year, our theme is politics because the election's coming up for president, right? So we thought it'd be a good year to talk about politics on reservations and how Native Americans talk about who to vote for and what kind of issues that they want to focus on, right? So last year, our focus was on relationships and how people connect with one another on reservations. And that came from the whole Violence Against Women Act, and that was a big deal last year. So we kind of want to talk about how like relationships affect each other and how we enter into them, how families interact with each other, right? And so we had the story from the Blackfeet Reservation about a transgender student who we found her at this very sensitive time where she was becoming very comfortable with herself, living as a female. She was going to the prom fully as a female, and so we actually got to go with her to the prom. We got great photographs. The story was wonderful partly because it was written by a student who was also Blackfeet, and he was very familiar with the area, knew a lot of people. It was his first feature story, like long form story that's not just about news that happened that day. So he got to spend a lot of time with it. He got to spend a lot of time with the sources. And then so this is the woman that we focused the story on. Her name is Ashlyn. But like I said, it was kind of a sensitive time for her because she was finally coming to terms with who she was. So in the story, her name was Nicole because that was her name at that time. And then after they interviewed her and talked to her, she finally decided her name was going to be Ashlyn. So the story kind of jumps back and forth from Nicole to Ashlyn. And then her family was also coming to terms with it. So in this video, they refer to her as a he because they're not used to it yet. So we had to deal with a lot of sensitive issues. But let's watch a video, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. So here it is. Did I just press play?
Yep. And then do we want to make it full screen?
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought, him being born a boy, but truly having the mind and the heart of a girl? It is something that I never seen coming.
Oh, okay. That was weird.
My name is Nicole Spotted Eagle, aka Dale Spotted Eagle. I am 14. I live in Browning, Montana, Blackfeet Reservation. I noticed I was wanting to dress as a girl myself, and that I was deep down a little more feminine in some cases.
From the time when he was about 3 years old, he had really long eyelashes and he had big brown eyes, and that was the first thing everybody noticed about him. They'd say, "Oh, you have pretty little girls." And one time he told this lady, "I'm not a girl. I'm a boy, I'm Dale. And I like dinosaurs, you know. We went school shopping for them the beginning of his 8th grade year. We're over on the girls' side with Molly. I'm getting her clothes picked out. And he comes over and he goes, Mom, I want these. And I looked at him and I said, those are girl clothes, Dale. And he's like, I know. And I want them. It was probably like the middle of his 8th grade year. He came to us and he sat us down and he told us that he was transgendered. Molly was kind of sitting there and she just kind of looked at me and I said, so what do you think, Molly? And she just didn't really respond. She just sat there. And then she kind of looked at Dale and she goes, that's so neat because now I have a big sister. You know, we can trade clothes and we can do nails together and we can do makeup together, you know. And for Molly, I don't think it was that big of a transition for her to be able to have to step over into that. I want him to get out there in the world, to be free and not to feel like he's trapped. And not only because he's transgendered, but because he's a Native American on a reservation. And here we know there's not a whole lot here for our kids.
As soon as I came out, it was like I wasn't sure if everyone was totally accepting of me. So I kind of strayed away from everyone for a while.
There is a serious lack of resources for anybody that's LGBTQ on our reservation. You don't see a lot of support systems anywhere. I guess to try to glaze things over, I told Dale, I said, so what, are we gonna go get you a tux and stuff? And he was like, no, I'm wearing a dress. So then like in January and February, we start looking at prom dresses and stuff. And finally one day it just clicked. And I thought to myself, why am I trying to cover something up? It's not fair to him. It's not fair to, you know, make him feel like he has to try to please everybody else.
Yesterday, it was like the first time I ever had my hair curled. It was awkward for a moment. That was a pretty cool moment for me. Like, as far as knowing I was able to have a dress that I didn't have to hide from my parents. I found a short one and I was like, maybe by wearing this short one I can show people that my confidence level is higher than they think.
I really think it's awesome. I really do. And I'm really proud of Dale because she had a lot of courage to go to the prom in a dress, being Nicole and not caring what everybody else was going to think. Honestly, I hope that he leaves. I really do. And that would just make me even more proud to be able to see him get out there and do his thing, you know. And I encourage all of my kids, you know, don't stay stuck here. You don't have to stay here. You can go anywhere you want to go. If you want to go to Timbuktu, then go there, you know. But just go do your thing and just always remember where you came from.
So I have a comment from Browning that they wrote. And first, Browning would like to say that they are very proud of the student in this story. It's the first thing that Browning would like to share. And then they also had a question for Tailyr, and we can, if you want to talk a little bit about this and then address that, then we'll do that.
So I just get out of this.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Can you guys hear me back? Am I back?
Yep. Thumbs up. There you are.
That's weird. All right. Can you guys hear me now? All right. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about that video? What do you think? Thumbs up from Browning. Awesome. Got the Browning seal of approval.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Awesome. Great. So how many of you guys have seen a news story like that about Native Americans before? Anybody? Yeah, probably not. I would think not, because that's not really what news outlets focus on when they cover Native Americans. They don't really think about that. Like, it doesn't fit into those topics we talked about before, right? Where they focus on, like, you know, all the poverty porn, all, like, the protesting, right? Even when we're talking about politics, when news outlets cover politics on reservations, it's always about like misspent money, or council delegates being like shady or going to court or whatever, right? It's never really about like the system and how it works. It's always about what failed, and then they highlight that, right? So that's what we're trying to do with this project, is tell these stories that nobody else is telling, because nobody else has the resources, and to a certain level, nobody else really cares. So that's why it's really important that we do this, and that we do it with sensitivity. This story in particular required a lot of sensitivity. I mean, I don't think any of us were used to writing about transgender issues. So we had a lot of meetings about, like, how do we write this story? How do we refer to Dale, Nicole, Ashton as a he or a she? Like, how do we refer to, like, how do we handle the quotes when everybody calls her a he when that's not accurate anymore? So we had to, like, really have these deep conversations about how do we do this and do it accurately, but also sensitively, because we part of this story is, like, you know, Ashton isn't really Dale anymore, and so there's a lot of questions that came with that, and we had to, like, really pause a lot.
So our Missoula crew has a couple of questions, and I'm wondering if possibly the other schools do too. Kathleen, would you unmute and go ahead and have the students?
Sure. Yeah, we have a question that came in from Browning, but I'm going to let these guys ask. They've been waiting on a couple of questions. Did you want to ask your question? Go ahead.
I have a question right now. It's kind of off topic, but what is the feeling that you get when your story or report comes together smoothly and just how you wanted it, and you feel like there is no more editing you can do to it, when it's just, in your eyes, perfect? What is the feeling that you have?
I'll let Taylor do that.
Well, I wouldn't know, because I feel like every time I look at it, I'm like, oh man, that could be just a little bit better, just a little bit. But I actually did a project this year in a different class on my reservation about Patty Stevens. I know a lot of you guys know who that is. I followed her around for a month and took photos and videos and interviewed her, and it finally all came together, and it's going to be presented at the Roxy this next week, I think. But yeah, it's due like on Friday, and I'm still like nitpicking it together, trying to get a little bit better timing or something. Every time I watch it, something's always wrong, but my teacher tells me it's good, so that makes me feel pretty good, I guess. Yeah, it's a good feeling when something you see comes together from all these little pieces, random pictures. I had 2 hours of audio, which is a lot, and I like had to cut it to 2 minutes, so it was a lot of stuff. But it was good when it finally came out. I really like it. I'm excited to show it.
I can add to that you know, especially in journalism, like, I don't think if you gave us 2 years to work on something, we would take 2 years to work it and edit and rewrite, right? At some point, you just have to let it go. And that's what we're kind of dealing with in Native news right now, is that I'm telling the students, just you have to let it go at some point, and just get it as best as you can for right now, and let it go. So I don't think you're ever going to find a journalist who's going to say, that was a perfect story, there's nothing else I could have done to it. If you gave anybody a little more time, they would love to work on it some more. And every time I read stories that I've written in the past that I loved at the time, and now I'm like, oh man, I wish I could change his lead. I wish I had a better quote. I mean, there's always something you could do.
We have another question here too. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, what's your name again?
Jason and Taylor?
Jason.
Oh, I'm Jason.
Okay, this is also off topic. What clan are you, by the way?
My clan? The clan that I am is Mescalero Apache, Nisqually. My father's clan is Leaning Tower, which is Kiani. Good question.
Good question. Allie, did you get Browning? So is Browning's mic fixed?
Yeah,
I did. I said. I think Browning. I think your mic is fixed. So, if you want, Browning, would you like to go ahead and ask your question? Yes. Oh, maybe your mic isn't fixed. I do have the one question right here written, and it was for Tailyr. Tailyr, the question for you. If you pitched other story ideas when you went to do that original the original story about the school board member, did you pitch other stories before you went to the reservation, or was that the story you decide on, or how did that process work?
So it's really tough because there's not a lot of like cell service over there, and people don't really return phone calls. You know how that can be. So when you're doing all this research, trying to like get stuff going for spring break, which comes really fast, you're trying to call people and trying to find something. And I think we had a couple. I really wanted. It's not political, so we couldn't do it. But they do. Sheldon and his wife do this prom dress thing where they find girls and they pay for they get dresses donated. They pay somebody to fix their hair, or they don't pay, it's donated, but they get people to fix their hair, get shoes, get dresses, get jewelry, get their nails done on the day of prom. So girls who can't afford it can afford to go, and I thought that was a really cool story, but it wasn't political, so we couldn't do it for this class. I'm debating whether I want to go back up there on the 30th and just shoot it anyway, just for me. But yeah, that was the one before that. And then after talking to Sheldon about it, and other people on the res, we got a lot of different feedback, and most of it was about Sheldon and this baseball team and all he does for the youth. And then we kind of dug around and found out that he's on the school board to a school he doesn't send his kids to, which people thought were kind of weird. Like, they think that if you're on the school board, you should send your kids there. And so that was a little bit of conflict that we found, and thought it could be a little bit interesting.
They also have Browning has a follow-up question to that. And how do you find these stories, and how do you know if it's worth getting out, if it's a worthy story?
You don't know. You just kind of hope it is. People want to read it. I kind of go off, like, would I read it if I seen something and I'd be like, oh, that's boring, or that's kind of what I do. But, yeah, you just have to have a lot of calls, and a lot of people will kind of say no a lot. So you just have to find a way around and talk to people. And we ended up doing, because the phone calls weren't really working out that great, we just went up, we just took a drive up there and met with people then. And then there's no service on the right, so we couldn't call. And then we knocked on the guy's door and he wasn't there. So it was awkward because we didn't have a phone and he wasn't home, and he was supposed to meet us at 3. And so we waited, and then we just drove away. And then he called us, and we had to go back because he was late, but there was no service, so he couldn't tell us. So, yeah, without that first trip, we wouldn't have found the story because we wouldn't have talked to Sheldon. So you just kind of got to do the work, put it in.
Yeah, the hardest part about the class is coming up with the story ideas. We have a long process where the students, like, we give them like 6 weeks at least to do research, and I keep telling them, like, you guys have to be making phone calls and getting to know people, because you have to have your idea solid by the time you head out there by spring break. So that's 8 weeks total. And we stress every week. We're like, you just make phone calls, get in touch with people, and have an idea ready. And it's really hard to do when you're hundreds of miles away, like Tailyr was from Northern Cheyenne. But we still have to, like, you have to. There's no way you can't. Because the worst thing that happens is spring break comes around and people still haven't made enough phone calls. They have no idea what the story is, or they have a misconception. They think a story is going to be something that it's totally not. And that's happened before. And we really try hard to avoid that.
Great. Okay, let's see. Pablo, it looks like you have some... Oh, the computer went to sleep. Pablo, you have some questions. Go ahead.
My name is Bailey Wiper, and I was wondering if you guys have any non-Native Americans in your guys' program.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, our program is mostly non-natives. The Native News class is mostly non-native. We've been fortunate in that every year we've had at least one Native student in there. This year we have 2. So for 25 years, except for 2 of those years, we've had at least one Native American student. And the program, the entire journalism school, we try really hard to bring in Native American students because we honestly and sincerely believe that you can't be a good news organization if you don't have representation from all the different groups of people that are in your community. And in Montana, Native Americans are the biggest minority group, which makes us different from pretty much every other state in the country, right? So we really want more Native Americans, especially from Montana, to participate in this massive storytelling program that we have.
My partner is actually from England, so that was kind of fun to take her. And she's never been to a reservation before at all, and she had a lot of questions. So it's kind of interesting, and it's kind of funny because she has this accent. I can't do an English accent, but she did, and so people were like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Like it was pretty interesting. So it's different.
Yeah, she has a great accent.
Yeah, it's really cool, but
That's great. Pablo, do you have any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Question.
Can you give me an example of what her accent was like?
no. Governor.
Governor.
That's right.
I think I saw a hand up. Oh, Keyshawn's got a question.
Oh, we still can't hear
I know, we still can't hear you for some reason. We're going to work on getting that fixed in between conferences. If you want to just type it in, Kathleen will relay it to us. All right, it's coming. Paula, do you have any other questions? I know it looked like maybe you were...
Allie, we have a question downstairs.
Oh, go ahead, please.
We have several students who are pretty great photographers. Would that be an asset if you want to become a journalist?
Could you say that just a little bit louder, please?
Sure. Go ahead.
We have several students who are great photographers. Is that an asset if you want to go into journalism?
Number one, yes, totally it is. Mainly because the news industry has changed quite a bit. Like when I was a student, I was strictly a print guy. All I did was write stories. And now I'm kind of a dinosaur. It'd be hard for me to find a job now because news outlets want people who do more than one thing. So you can't just write anymore. You have to be able to write and take pictures, or take pictures and do video, or video. Now you have to know at least more than one thing. And Taylor's pretty good at that. So why don't you have anything to add to that? Like how has photography strengthened your...
Yeah, well, my main focus is photography. All my classes I've taken since I started is photography. For me, personally, I think photos... The way a professor told me is, when you think of 9/11, what do you guys think of?
Kathleen, do you want to unmute?
Sure.
And it looks like Browning's going to type. Browning's typing as well.
What do you think?
So when you think of 9/11, what do you guys think of?
When you hear 9/11, what do you think of?
I think of Bush. I think of the Twin Towers.
The Twin Towers.
What do you think of the photos, too? You know,
which is the Twin Tower, yeah.
Yeah, the Twin Towers, the photos of, you know, the plane running into the Twin Tower. And reporting is very important, but no one remembers the lead on the newspaper print. So I think photos are really important in conveying messages. I feel like it makes you feel things more than, not necessarily words, but more quickly than words would. So, yeah, I don't think it's one's better than the other. But
I mean, yeah, so photos have this power. They're the very first thing that you see when there's a breaking news story. So 9/11 is a big one, you know, but like the Boston Marathon bombing, right, or the terrorist attacks, the images are what strike you first, right? Before you buy the paper, before you watch this news program, if you see a strike, you're cruising through channels or whatever, cruising through websites, and if you see an image that your eye latches onto, that's going to grab you, and then you're going to pay attention. So the image is the first taste you get of a story, and the better that image is, the better the photographer is in catching these moments of human beings in these really sometimes horrible, sometimes great situations, the better you're going to be at capturing an audience who will read the story and finish watching your program. So yeah, it's very important. Photos are detrimental.
Yeah, so come apply to the program. Photographers.
You have Blackfeet? Anything from Blackfeet?
So I have one. Kathleen, I saw her, Browning typing furiously. Did you have another question about this? Okay. Browning says that the photos are the poetry of the article.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
I love that. That is awesome.
That is good. Go ahead, Kathleen.
They also had a question about, are there any opportunities to intern at the Native News Network?
I think it was the International Native News Network.
So as far as interning with them, I don't have a connection, but I do have connections. Like there's this new project called the Indigenous News Network. They're based in North Dakota, and so that guy is a friend of mine who does that, and he's looking for Native students to produce news content, and he pays. Also, the Native American Journalists Association, of which I'm the president, we help students. We have the summer program that's a week long, where we send students out to our conference, and they work in a student newspaper. And after that, we work with them throughout the year to help them find internships elsewhere. So there's definitely opportunities for internships all over the country. As long as you guys are keyed in, I'd love to help any and all of you succeed there.
We're just about out of time, and so I just want to see if we have any last questions from either the Missoula group or the Browning group.
Yes, we do have a question here. Go ahead.
As far as photography goes, have you guys ever thought about just mounting a GoPro on your chest and just going with it so you catch all the footage of the day?
You ever thought of that?
Yeah, but it'd be pretty boring. It'd be like me watching Netflix with my dog. It wouldn't be that cool. No, but I think GoPros are really cool. The one that comes to mind is they snapped a GoPro on a balloon and they put it in space. But they didn't find it for like 6 months after because it popped and landed somewhere. But it was really cool. You should look that up. But yeah, I haven't really thought of that.
Yeah, actually. I think it depends on what story you're doing. Like I saw a guy do it when he got to feed these tigers at a zoo, right? And the photographer, I can't believe they let him do it, but he put a GoPro on and then went in with the guys who regularly fed the tigers. So you got to see it from his perspective, right? So that's awesome. But just doing it just for the sake of doing it, like Tailyr said, it's mostly going to be boring. It's just going to be like people at their computers typing. So it wouldn't be very effective. It has to be a very unique and very dynamic situation, like feeding tigers or swimming with sharks or something like that. Something that people want to see. So you have to always think about your audience and what do they want to see? What are they going to find boring? You definitely don't want to bore your audience. So the more dynamic you can be, the better.
We have a follow-up.
What if when you're out following up a story and instead of having a big bulky camera in someone's face making them nervous, do you think that having that GoPro there would make them more at ease and not so worried about being on camera?
Yeah, they'd probably be more at ease, but the photos wouldn't be that great because a big bulky camera does stuff a GoPro can't do as far as exposure and that kind of stuff. So you get what you need to hear and what you need them to say, but you wouldn't get the compelling pictures that you would need to make the story really pop.
Also, I think the smaller the camera, the more suspicious people are. Like they kind of tend to protect their privacy. And if you have a big camera, they know you're taking a picture, right? If you have a small camera, or I don't know if you guys remember when they tried to do Google Glass, where the camera was in your glasses, and when people would see people with the Google Glass on, they would just kind of like chase them out. Like people got attacked for wearing them because if you're just hanging out and someone's secretly taking pictures of you, people hate that, right? So I think the smaller the camera is, you also run the risk of like offending people and making them very, very suspicious.
Those are really good questions. We're just about out of time, and we have another conference coming up. So I want to thank you so much for joining us, and I want to thank you so much, Tailyr.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.